So today we are here at chamber of Mr. Ramji Raksa, who is not only an advocate by profession but also a chairman of Save Arunachal, Save Indigenous, that is SASI. So sir, welcome to Awake News.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, we have some few questions regards Apu Apai. So sir, what is this Apu Apa Act?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Awake News, for covering. So, first of all, I would like to explain what is Apu Apa. Before explaining Apu Apa, I would like to say that this Apu Apa law has been taken from UAPA 1967, Unlawful Prevention Act 1967, which is a very old and central-made law. And the manner how this UAPA 1967 came up in the central was enacted in the central parliament is that after the 1962 war, Indo-China war, there was many territory of Northeast state, particularly Northeast states, and many people from Northeast state were having demands for cession of their state from the territory of India. Either they were demanding for merger in different nation, or they were demanding for separate territory. And the Chinese counterparts were claiming India, various part of Northeast as their counterparts. Now, in the backdrop, this the central government at that time made a committee, and the committee made two recommendations. I'll be very precise. And the number one recommendation made by the central committee appointed at that time was that they had placed that Article 19 was to be some provisions like for sovereignty and integrity of India to be respected. Such clauses was to be added, and it was added. And the second recommendation made was for the making of a law to prevent a person from claiming cession of territory of India to different parts, or also to curb anti-national activities. So in that regard, UAPA 1967 was amended solely with a motive to for to curb and check the people, or to penalize people who have attitude of attitude of parting from India. So for that sole purpose only, this UAPA was enacted by the center in way back in 1967. And in the year 1972, after this Pakistan and Indo-Pakistan war, this was used in Jammu and Kashmir up to some extent, and there were many debates in this regard. Some were pro, some were against this. And then, but what one thing that we have to keep in mind in this UAPA Act is, since this Apu Apa has been taken from UAPA 1967, but in UAPA there are provisions for bail conditions, like for applying bail, even if a partner. Now this has been termed, and this through various amendment way back in 2019, 12, and then 2019. Now this UAPA has been transformed as a anti-terror law, a kind of anti-terror law after the repeal or discontinuation of POTA and TADA Act. Now, but in this UAPA 1967 law, which is a central law, which includes for every state of India. So here there are provisions for bail also. Like in NIA court, if a person who is charged for terrorist, they can seek bail, and the court will observe whether they have to be. Though the bail condition is very tough, and though the probability for getting bail is very tough, but there are provisions for bail condition. But in Apu Apa, it is very different. Therefore, Apu Apa was enacted way back in the year 2014. As we have been through 2014, you might be very clear about what was the political situation at that time. So there were lots and pulls of politics, government at that time. So this Apu Apa was solely enacted or passed in the state legislature only to suppress the suppress people who were against the government at that time, at that point of time, and also to punish or to arrest people who have a difference of opinion with the government at that time. Therefore, this Apu Apa also, when we properly read what Apu Apa is, we come to know that this Apu Apa is a very drafted law, and very casually this has been drafted. In fact, if the government of Arunachal Pradesh in the near future also, if anything like this act or this law are to be enacted, I would request the state government through your channel that there are lots of ample lawyer in our bar also, indigenous lawyer who are very expert in different fields. People like them should be consulted. Randomly bringing a person from outside Arunachal Pradesh and letting it draft and then making and then enacting it as a law for the state is very uncalled for, and it's very this, because of which today we are terming this as a draconian and arbitrary. Therefore, Apu Apa is a very casually drafted law, I would say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. And sir, was this evoking of Apu Apa 2014 is required?
Okay, in regards to the present scenario that we are seeing, in regards to the detention of Ben Collar under Apu Apa, I would say that this was not necessary at all, because there was a order issued by the Deputy Commissioner ICR, that the order was issued under 144, which empowers the magistrate to issue an order for refraining a certain person from doing certain acts. So 144 declared in the ICR, and if we read 144 in the CRPC, the all the contents, all the reasons, all the points for which this 144 can be invoked are properly written in the 144. If you read through it, you will get to know it. And as far as my understanding is concerned, I feel that, and I have the order of the Deputy Commissioner, the detention order which Deputy Commissioner has issued in the 8th May 2023. Herein, if I read through the order or detention order of various persons, I have a huge file, compilation of a huge file. If I read it in the third last para, it says that whereas the reason for their detention is given, that if I read it, I will read only the relevant portion. It says that this has been issued due to feeling of insecurity, danger among the general public, disruption of daily supplies and essential service to the public, and also being involved in activities which has been declared illegal by the state government through intimidation and psychological fear, which may also result in causing damage to public or private properties. This is the reason why they have been arrested, and this is the reason why Apu Apa has been invoked upon them. So there was an apprehension that all these sorts of crime could have been committed by those detainees. But all the points, all the crimes that the probable crimes that the Deputy Commissioner has listed or has given in their order sheet could be easily covered under 144 CRPC. 144 CRPC has an ample power, because 144 power is issued for like for the general interest of the public, for disruption of food and supplies and essential service also 144 applies. And if there is a criminal intimidation or psychological fear which may result to public losses or private property losses, 144 easily covers. So therefore, I feel that this Apu Apa was solely done in order to keep them under detention for a longer period, so as to make them feel that whatever they are demanding, I am not into their demands whether it is legally right or wrong, but then the way Apu Apa has been used is very arbitrary. And also, instead of using, if at all they want to prevent someone from doing crime, they could have used IPC. There is section 151 IPC is there, which is prevention detention, which gives a power for police personnel to arrest a person for preventing any person from doing any kind of probable crimes for a crime. So this 151 says that police can arrest a person if he or she, the police feels that that person can commit crime. He has the power to arrest that person and keep him under detention, him or her under detention for 24 hours. But people says, and some people, some officials in the press statement also was saying that this 151 preventive detention was under IPC was not enough. But I feel it is absolutely wrong, because 151, if you read properly section 151 of the IPC says that if a police official feels or that a person who is already under detention for 24 hours, he is, even if released after detaining for 24 hours, there is a probable chances that a person can commit crime in the near future. So in such situation, he has the power to write the reason why he needs further detention. Then he can, after the passing of for 24 hours, he can place it before the judicial magistrate, and judicial magistrate will observe whether the reason whatever the police officer is giving, and for the public security, peace and security, and for maintaining peace and tranquility, this the judge or the chief judicial magistrate can order for the detention, has the power to order for detention of that person for 15 days. And then again, after 15 days, for 30 days, the magistrate has the power to keep them under detention. But then for consecutively for 15 days, they can be kept. And thereafter a break, again 15 days can be kept. If there is a probable reason that this a person is a danger to the society. But later on, and then thereafter, the matter will be passed to the session judge, and the person who is aggrieved or the family member who will aggrieved can write a representation to the session judge. That way, session judge, through judicial process, the session judge will observe or will see whether the reason for which the representation has been filed, and then they can be granted bail or they can be released. So that way also, by using the IPC, Indian Penal Code, this could have been, their prevention could have been done. But the way how they are invoking this UAPA, Apu Apa, is that the Apu Apa provides a condition wherein the only way to release a person is that a person can be released by signing a bond between the government and the detained person. So without signing the terms and conditions of the government, the person will not be detained. Therefore, I feel that this Apu Apa was not at all necessary. 144, and if the person, if further goes on, there were various sections like under, if 144 was not under 144 also 2 years imprisonment is the condition is there, and then if 144 was neglected, section 188 IPC was also there. Therefore, it was not necessary at all. That's my take on it.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. We have one last question. Sir, tell us about what is the requirement remedies for this UAPA Act, Apu Apa Act 2014?
No, prior to that, I'll come to is Apu Apa constitutional or unconstitutional before answering your question. So I would say that first of all we have to understand whether Apu Apa is constitutional or unconstitutional. So as far as my understanding is concerned, if we go thoroughly to Apu Apa Act, the person in, I will talk in context to the latest happening, what latest happening in our state. So the person, whoever, the more than 41 person, they were detained under, they were termed as unlawful person under section 2 of the Apu Apa, and they were declared as unlawful under section 2 subclause 8 of the Apu Apa Act. And now, and in this act, while invoking under section 3, the power for detention is given to the rank of chief secretary or deputy commissioner, as we have already known. So they have the power to order a detention, order a circular or a order, a detention order, that a person is unlawful and he has to be detained. And accordingly, that person will be detained, will be detained, and then will be kept under their detention for a period of 5 days, that without informing any family members they have the power, the arrestee or the deputy commissioner or whoever the person who is arresting has the power to keep them under detention for 5 days without informing their family members. And in special circumstances, and I'm not of, I'm sure of the I'm of the opinion that the 10 days provision, that is for exceptional circumstances, can also be used, and it will be used in the near future if this continues. So 10 days they can keep them under their detention wherever they want, without informing the family member. This is absolutely very draconian and in contradiction with what the fundamental rights is enshrined for the citizen of India. And also now, if you go through Apu Apa, you see the territorial jurisdiction. A deputy commissioner or an officer who is not below the rank of deputy commissioner can issue direction order for arrest of anyone sitting anywhere. So law is an open sky law. Like there is no territorial jurisdiction. This is also very contradictory with what this established law of nature says. And also in regards to grounds of detention, as per section 8, it has to be recorded in writing, and then the state government will send the reason for why the person has been arrested by recording it, and then within 21 days the state government will, the arrested or the deputy commissioner will send it to the state government within 21 days. 21 days is a very huge numbers in hours, like so they will send it again. The state government will forward it to the advisory board within 21 days. Now advisory board can take 49 days for addressing the representation, because after the arrest within 21 days, after the passing of 12 days, the family members of the arrestee will be, the person who has been detained will be given chances to file representation to the government, and that they will forward it to the advisory board, and advisory board within 49 days they have to decide it. So 29 41 days for all that period, the person will be inside the jail. And the astonishing or the very surprising the sections are that here, even if a person who is arrested, even if they were arrested in a false manner, or they were not guilty, or they were not supposed to be arrested or invoked under this UAPA, even if the deputy commissioner might have arrested him under his own grudge or his personal ill motive, then they will not be answerable, or they cannot be prosecuted, or there will be no legal proceedings against them. So this kind of law is very draconian and very bad for our future, because every officer will not be clean. There might be people against him, and there is a chance that Apu Apa could be misused in the near future also. Now again, here in what is actually wrong here in Apu Apa is that when we see the constitution of advisory board herein, advisory board, they have said in under Apu Apa that they will constitute an advisory board, and within advisory board, one person will be a retired retired judge of a high court, and 2 person will be government person. The specification has not been given who will be the government person. Now, if we read Article 22 of the Indian Constitution, Article 22 says that while in a preventive law, while a person is being arrested under preventive law, representation has to be filed, and representation needs to be sent an advisory board has to be has to be constituted by the government, and that the Constitution Article 22 says that advisory boards, it is properly written. If you read it below, you will find that the advisory persons should be should be a judge, retired judge, or should be a person who are capable of being elevated as a judge of any court, judge of a court. Therefore, random government officials cannot be the member of the advisory board. Now, in our Apu Appa case, random person, I don't know, we don't know who the board member will be. One will be retired judge, of course, it's okay. And the second two person, again, there are provisions that if the retired judge who will be the chairman, if he has an opinion that there was no sufficient cause for their arrest, but then if the two person says contradict with his opponent with his opinion, then the government persons will have a more impact, because his opinion will not be considered, their opinion will be considered. Therefore, this is very arbitrary. Now, how can a layman person who is a government officer who doesn't know ABCD of law can decide whether the person has been arrested rightly or wrongfully? Legally, they have to be well equipped. In this advisory board constitution also, while enacting this law, they should have placed that the parameters for appointing in the advisory board should have been a lawyer or should have been a person who has the eligibility of becoming a law. So there are lots of loopholes in it. And also here, in regards to, I would just read it, in regards to the time frame for their release. They say that a person who is detained under this Apu Appa can be detained for a maximum period of 6 months under section 13. But in again section 12 it says, I will read section 12. Section 12 it says, in case where the advisory board has reported that there is in its opinion sufficient cause for the detention of a person, the state government may confirm the detention order and continue the detention of the person concerned for such periods as it thinks fit. Here in the section 30 it says that maximum detention period will be 6 months. But in section 12 it says that even if the advisory board feels that there was a sufficient ground for their detention, if they give such opinion, and if government feels that they can detain them for any period which is not mentioned. This is absolutely, there are lots of loopholes and anomalies while framing this law. Therefore, I said that this Apu Appa is very arbitrary. And one thing here, the main point, the focal point that everyone is looking here is that the release conditions, how a person who has been detained under Apu Appa can be released. Now, the person who is detained under Apu Appa can only be released under conditions. So you will see in section 15, sub clause 2, that a person who is arrested under Apu Appa law will only be released subject to signing of a bond between the government, because state government might impose any kinds of restrictions, whatever they want, and they will let the person who is being detained sign it, and they will be released, and not only bond with sureties. Now the question is that if a person, अगर वो इंसान को इस तरह से आप बॉन्ड साइन करके छोड़ता है, क्योंकि छोड़ने का वही एक माध्यम है कि अब जब वो बॉन्ड साइन करेगा, गवर्नमेंट जो भी रखेगा टर्म्स एंड कंडीशन उसको साइन करेगा, तभी आपको छोड़ेगा. तो अगर उस समय में अगर आप जो भी साइन करके अगर आप निकल जाता है तो भी आप तो एक गुलाम बन जाएगा. आप वही स्पेसिफिक, और यहाँ में बोलता है कि आप जब बॉन्ड को तोड़ेगा या जब आप जो भी लिखा है, साइन किया है, उसको अगर आप फुलफिल नहीं करके और गवर्नमेंट को लगेगा कि ये आदमी को फिर से अरेस्ट करना है, तो एनी टाइम गवर्नमेंट कैन अगेन रीअरेस्ट यू. तो आप बॉन्ड साइन करवा के सिक्योरिटीज लेके ये किसी को रिलीज करना, वो कंपल्सन में रिलीज करवाना, ये लो तो ये बहुत कानून है। जब तक आप संगीन अपराध नहीं करते हो, जब तक आप टेररिस्ट नहीं हो, जब तक आप ये देश का भारत में और हमारा अरुणाचल में रहते हुए आप अरुणाचल कहीं जाना या अरुणाचल के लिए आप एंटी नेशनल और देश का विरोध आप काम नहीं करते हो, यहाँ का छोटा मोटा जो क्राइम है, स्टेट का क्राइम है, छोटा मोटा जो आप क्राइम करते हैं, क्योंकि बैंड कॉल तो यहाँ होते रहता है और यहाँ जो भी करता है छोटा मोटा क्राइम है, दिस इज नॉट ए टेररिस्ट एक्टिविटी। तो उस चीज में अगर आप बॉन्ड करा के साइन करके किसी को कंपल्सन करता है तो वो आपका राइट ऑफ फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच एंड एक्सप्रेशन को आप कर्टेल कर देता है आने वाला पीढ़ी में भी, क्योंकि आने वाला समय में वो गवर्नमेंट का अगेंस्ट में उसका कुछ हो सकता है, तो जिसको वो बोलना पड़ेगा, प्रोपागेट करना पड़ेगा। तो आप उसको बॉन्ड करा के ही निकालने देना, ये प्रावधान जो है हमारा आपुआ आपा में, ये बहुत ही गलत है। और आप निकालने का बाद भी जब आपको लगेगा कि ये खराब हो रहा है बोलने से, फिर आपको अरेस्ट करेगा, री अरेस्ट विदाउट एनी रीजन, फिर आपको वही प्रोसेस 5 दिन 10 दिन बिना बताए रखेगा, फिर आपको वहाँ आपको रखेगा, मैंने जब जितना चाहेगा आपको। तो ये मैं बोलता हूँ कि ये बहुत ही गलत है। आप अगर यहाँ में जो भी संगीन अपराध होता है, आप आईपीसी का तहत उनको बुक कीजिए और प्रोड्यूस देम बिफोर द जुडिशरी डिसाइड करना चाहिए ये चीज़ को कि आप कोर्ट में प्रोड्यूस करो। कोर्ट में भी आप जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल सोलदोदुम का टीम को अगर इस समय में प्रिवेंटिव डिटेंशन में अरेस्ट नहीं करके आईपीसी में जो भी में अरेस्ट करता है, तो आप बेल के लिए तो वो लोग कोर्ट जाएगा, कोर्ट में जज जो उनको ये जब बेल पिटिशन फाइल करता होगा होते समय में हम ये नहीं करेगा वो नहीं करेगा वो बोलेगा, जब बेल ग्रांट करते समय में उनको कोर्ट द्वारा बेल कंडीशन डाला जाएगा। अगर वो बेल कंडीशन में उनको बोलेगा कि आपको बैन कॉल इज इलीगल, यू शुड नॉट बैन कॉल, और क्रिमिनल इंटीमिडेशन, पब्लिक इंसाइट नहीं करना है, ये सब को आप नहीं करना, अगर ये करेगा तो आपको फिर उनका अगर कोर्ट ऐसे करके उसको बेल दे देगा। बेल देने के बाद अगर वो फिर ये चीज़ को करता है तो उसका बेल कैंसिल होगा, फिर ही विल बी अरेस्टेड, तब वो जेल फिर जाएगा। तो इसीलिए हम बोलता है कि आईपीसी का तहत होना चाहिए। ये आपका लॉ ऐसा है कि when there is a existing of judiciary, where there is a existing of courts and there are legal practitioner, आप आपा में एवरीथिंग किसी का आप लाइफ को अपना 30 days इज नॉट ए स्मॉल पीरियड ना। आप एक दिन भी आपको कैप्टिविटी में रखना, एक दिन में 1 घंटा भी आपको कहीं में जेल के अंदर घुसा के रखना, यह तो कम बात नहीं है। तो इसीलिए हम बोलता है कि सब कुछ को एग्जीक्यूटिव डिसाइड करना ये गलत है, क्योंकि एक डेमोक्रेसी सेटअप ऑफ गवर्नमेंट में जहाँ में कानून है, जहाँ में आपका एग्जीक्यूटिव जुडिशरी है, जहाँ में कोर्ट है, कोर्ट शुड डिसाइड। देयरफॉर दिस आपुआपा नीड्स टू बी चैलेंज्ड because there are lots of loopholes and everything is in contradictory with the Constitution of India. तो मैं इसके साथ में अब मैं आपको लास्ट आपका जो सवाल है उसको मैं बोलता हूँ कि आपने जो पूछा ना।
जी सर, रेमेडीज क्या?
अच्छा, आपका रेमेडीज को मैं बताता हूँ। रेमेडीज में ये हो सकता है कि the remedy is that just now we have heard, I have been conveyed by some of my colleagues that social activists and our elder brother Sri Pai Gyadi has filed a FIL in the High Court Guwahati bench, Nahalgan bench. Now the only thing here is that as per the public or as per the public opinion or as per the public calling, the government, the state government can bring it in the floor of their assembly and they can discuss it, they can amend it, or either now they can repeal it. They can repeal it since it is every wake and corner of Arunachal Pradesh people are saying that this Apu is draconian. So they can repeal it in the state legislative assembly by or either re-amending it, because there are some clauses in the Apu also which are good, like for habitual the person who captures government lands, government quarters, etc. also can be booked under this Apu. But what is happening, surprisingly, what is happening in Arunachal Pradesh is that जो आप ये आपुआपा का तहत आप अगर क्वार्टर भी आप लेके फोर्सफुली घर बना रहा है उसको भी आपू आपा में बुक कर सकता है। यहाँ में जो भी आप आर्ट कटिंग होके अभी ईटानगर नाहरलगुन में इतना गर्मी करा रहा है, ये सब को भी इलीगल आर्ट कटिंग के लिए भी आपू आपा में बुक कर सकता है, लेकिन करता नहीं है ये। जहाँ जहाँ में आपू आपा यूज़ करना है वो गवर्नमेंट डिसाइड्स। तो इसी तरह का आपू आपा का उल्लंघन हो रहा है। तो इसमें वही है कि गवर्नमेंट कैन डू इट एंड आई डोंट थिंक गवर्नमेंट इज गोइंग टू डू इट। और नेक्स्ट थिंग इज दैट since the manner how this Apu Apa law has been drafted, this is in contradiction with the Constitution of India. Article 13 में भी क्लियर कट बोला है कि आप जब जब कानून बनाते हो आप आपका स्टेट और सेंटर को तो आपको लेजिस्लेचर को आपको तो प्रावधान है कि आप कानून बना सकते हो, लेकिन वो कानून जो है हमारा जो संविधान होता है हमारा संविधान का वो विपरीत नहीं होना चाहिए। संविधान का जो जितना भी वहाँ दिया गया है उसका उल्लंघन करते हुए आपका उसका विपरीत आप वो कानून नहीं बना सकते हो। तो इसी में वो है कि ये कानून हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन जो हमारा संविधान का उल्लंघन है बोल के वी कुड हैव मूव टू सुप्रीम कोर्ट एंड इन फैक्ट वी वर रिसर्चिंग ऑन इट एंड वी वर इन अ वेरी पार अहेड फॉर दिस इन दिस रिगार्ड। हम लोग आगे ही चल रहा था, लेकिन अभी यहाँ में हमारा हाई कोर्ट में दे दिया। तो द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन द एफेक्ट्स कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन दैट इज सुप्रीम कोर्ट could have been the better option because वही कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मैटर को ज़्यादा डिसाइड करता है। बट देन आवर हाई कोर्ट also has the ample jurisdiction to decide whether this is constitutional or unconstitutional. Now I do not know कौन सा प्रेयर लेके आपका ये हाई कोर्ट में हमारा गैदी साहब ने जो जो प्रेयर में डाला है, दैट आई डू नॉट नो, बट देन ही माइट हैव चैलेंज इट citing that this is unconstitutional, this is arbitrary, this infringes the fundamental rights, so and so forth. So यहाँ में हाई कोर्ट से भी we are hopeful that हाई कोर्ट से भी हम लोग को एक फेवरेबल ऑर्डर मिलेगा। सो इसीलिए हाई कोर्ट आइडर सुप्रीम कोर्ट और द स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर इसको वही कर सकता है वो रेमेडी से। इसीलिए मैं सारा जनता अरुणाचल को आपका थ्रू से मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि रिक्वेस्ट कर रहा हूँ कि आप सभी को कि वी शुड कम टुगेदर, बिकॉज ये आपू आपा को आप ज़्यादा गवर्नमेंट का बैन कॉल ज़्यादा होता है बोल के आप इसको कभी कभी बैन कॉल और उस लोग को ये करने देना वो करने देना है बोल के आपू आपा रहना है, ऐसा भी आप नहीं सोचना है। तो ये कल को जाके इसका मिसयूज 100% चांस होता है। जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल कल को हम लोग का अरुणाचल का हित के लिए इंडिजिनियस हित के लिए बहुत सा ऐसा मुद्दा होगा जिसको हम लोग बैन कॉल से ही स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट कभी कभी ऐसा कंपल्सन कर सकता है कि बैन कॉल से ही सोल्यूशन हो सकता है। उस समय में हम लोग का इंडिजिनियस इंटरेस्ट के लिए हम लोग बैन कॉल करते समय भी आपू आपा लगा के हम लोग को सप्रेस कर सकता है। तो इसीलिए हम बोलता है कि ये आपू आपा को अभी हम लोग सब चैलेंज करना है, हम लोग एक साथ रहना है। और साथ में मैं सारा जनता को ये रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा कि इसमें हम लोग जो भी कर रहा है हम लोग उनको मेंटली फिजिकली हम लोग उनको साथ करना है। फाइनेंशियली पॉसिबल पीपल हु आर वेल टू डू इट ऑल्सो शुड सपोर्ट इट, क्योंकि ये आर्बिट्रेरी है। और साथ साथ में मैं अभी सारा अरुणाचल का जनता को आपके माध्यम से लास्ट में मैं ये बोलना चाहूँगा कि ये जब जब हम लोग जैसे आर्टिकल 371H को भी लेके हम लोग तो सासी हमेशा इसको आगे में रुका है, क्योंकि ये भी एक कानूनी बहुत कल को जाके बहुत ये आपू आपा जैसा एक सीरियस डिबेट हो सकता है, सीरियस मिसयूज हो सकता है, या आपू आपा हो गया, इसको भी हम लोग ऐसा में लाइटली नहीं लेना है, सब संगीन और अपना इनपुट देने के लिए कोशिश करना है। इसीलिए ओनली रेमेडीज आर बोथ द कोर्ट्स और द स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर। थैंक यू
सो मच सर।